best friend to be the patsy, and he does get away, the actual shooter. And 2 years later, after the fact of all that happening, his message, he posted a video after he gets away, and he posts a video at the end of the movie, and the end of the message at the end of the movie is talking about, he basically says, there are too many people on this world, and, you know, we need to depopulize, and that's what's going on.
Sir, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I appreciate your call. Great points. Antony, is that how you pronounce it? Antoine Fakua. I suddenly can't read anything. Anton Fakua attended West Virginia University in Morgantown, West Virginia, on Atlantic Scholarship for basketball. He studied electrical engineering. Are you sure this is the director of that movie? Anton Fakua. So he just came out of nowhere and made this film. Well, no wonder. I don't know how he got it made. I bet Mark Wahlberg's a patriot. I can just tell you about well, he's a great director as well. And again, I don't want to meet famous people just because they're famous. I want to meet with Mark Wahlberg because he's a great director. He's made some really good movies and a great actor, and he's obviously a patriot. And I guess he liked it, so he let a director who didn't really know him do it. So there you go. Anton Fakua did Shooter. Well, I want you on the show, buddy. Yeah, that director we were just talking about that did Shooter, it's not The Shooter, Shooter, also did Training Day, which exposes the corrupt system, which is one of the films where it shows the police dealing drugs at the top and just shutting down one of their minions instead of it being, you know, just a few bad cops. Anyways, if you just joined us, I was talking about a director of The Shooter, or Shooter. We're taking your phone calls right now ahead of Lou Rockwell. I'm going to cover a laundry list of news with him and look at election 2012. With Ron Paul's former chief of staff and the head of the Von Mises Institute, always informative. I got Webster Griffin Tarpley with the big government view. We're going to have the little government view here in a minute, or really the anti-government, zero government view from Lou Rockwell. We'll get the big, juicy government view, dripping with cheese, with good old Webster Tarpley, Dr. Tarpley, tonight for a full hour on the Nightly News. Watson's doing the news. I'm doing the interview. John in Texas, and then... Merlin, I promise we'll get to you. I appreciate you holding. Go ahead. You're on the air, John.
Hi, Alex. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I was watching Ken Burns' documentary on the Civil War the other day. And in the documentary, they talked about the two economies, the Union economy and the Confederate economy. And they said the Union economy was strong because the greenback dollar was backed by gold. They said the Confederate money, their economy, that was all printed out of thin air. They said pretty soon inflation took off in the Confederacy, and the riots broke out in the major cities, and they said Jeff Davis had to divert troops from the war to put down the riots in the cities.
Jefferson Davis, yep. And now we have that same money, and the banks have signed us on to hundreds of times what we owe, but we're not supposed to be upset about that. We're in a free country. Just let the TSA fondle you.
Basically, we got Confederate money in our wallets right now. Nothing backing it.
Yep, and the globalists are creeping towards the exits, but we're not supposed to point that out, John. That's fear-mongering.
And you got to remember, the reason they're getting ready now is because the reason they had to put down the riots back then, they know what's coming. That's why they got all the military and everything all geared up, ready to go.
That's right, brother, and only exposing them will make them not accelerate the implosion. The question is it too late for even the globalists to stop what they've put in motion? Great points. Merlin. Hello, Mr. Pendragon. Good to have you on the show with us from Washington. Welcome.
Yes. I was listening to your guest yesterday.
Yes.
On taxes.
Yes, sir.
And anyway, I didn't have an opportunity to ask my question, but I was concerned about Social Security. Where does the Social Security money go to that we pay in?
It's gone. It goes into the general fund. They have IOUs and another fund, just digital money, but they spend it all faster than it comes in.
Now, is it spent the same way as taxes, or?
Actually, the Social Security money does end up getting spent on government functions, strangely enough, at least part of it. The income tax portion, though, all goes to interest on the debt because the bankers get interest for the right of us just to have fiat currency. So it's even worse than a fiat currency. It's a debt-based, where every dollar that's created, we go into debt to the banksters.
So I guess there's not much we can do about it right now, right?
Well, sir, exposing a fraud will bring it down. We're in a lot of trouble. We're morally bankrupt. We've been taken over. They've set up a paramilitary group against us, but we're trying to wake up those enforcers. Not because we can't beat them militarily. That's part of the globalist plan. We don't want to have a civil war in this country. We want to try to turn things around. What do you say?
Well, that's for sure. I'm part of the baby boom generation, and I'm concerned about Social Security for us.
Yeah, that's what this implosion's all about. Is making sure you don't get the money you paid in, and you're gonna end up getting your money. It's just going to be devalued. That's the problem. If we continue on this course, because we're not bankrupt because of Social Security, we're bankrupt because of the globalists and their Ponzi schemes and their derivatives. But if we keep on this course, you're going to not get anything. And we are back live, ladies and gentlemen. Our story is on the right-hand side, top story of DrudgeReport.com. I keep saying right-hand side. It's on the left-hand side of DrudgeReport.com. And it deals with the fact that the National Weather Service in huge ammo purchase. Now, I talked about the fact that NOAA controls the Fisheries Office of Law Enforcement. And we've had guests on about how they're harassing surfers on the West Coast and telling people they can't have jet skis in the water now. And all the rest of it for the marine mammals. And they're harassing people with boats, you name it. So I said, hey, I bet it's going to them. They're sitting into the West Coast, the East Coast. This is on top of the 1.4 billion rounds of ammo that the federal government has purchased last year. $250 million last year, $450 million 5 months ago, $750 million last week. But as usual, they're countering us. And listen to this, the Washington Post. National Weather Service ammunition solicitation triggers confusion. And then we're going to go to our guest. NOAA says there was a clerical error in the FedBiz Ops announcement, stating that the National Weather Service requested ammunition. The solicitation actually originated from NOAA Fisheries Office of Law Enforcement. Yeah, 15 to 25,000 rounds per office. That's listed there. Not the National Weather Service. See bottom of post for more details. Yeah, but it's under the National Weather Service. It's not a clerical error. They've always got to play a game to change the subject. There's 1.4 billion rounds. This is on top of that. Original post, weather forecasting or preparing for war. The National Weather Service seeks to buy 4,600 or 46,000 rounds of ammunition for semi-automatic pistols, says FedBiz website. In a solicitation head scratcher of explosive proportions. Well, no, it's not. The IRS just created a huge SWAT team. InfoWars, the website of libertarian talk show host. Hey, they actually got it right. Alex Jones, because usually if there's a Republican in, I'm a hardcore communist, the news says, because I don't like the Republicans. Or if there's a Democrat in, I'm a right-wing extremist. No, I'm just a constitutionalist libertarian. Freedom lover. He goes on, InfoWars, the website of libertarian talk show host Alex Jones says the ammunition being ordered is designed to cause maximum organ damage. And it goes on to quote us. So again, now the National Weather Service is responding to the Washington Post and Drudge Report, picking up our story. That's a good place to start with Lou Rockwell of LouRockwell.com. Author, researcher, runs the very popular LouRockwell.com. They have an article out about licensing of gardens and lemonade stands in this great free nation we live in. And he's an American libertarian political commentator, activist, proponent of the Austrian School of Economics, and chair of the Ludwig von Mises Institute. He was also Ron Paul's congressional chief of staff. And he joins us right now to break all of this down. Some of the news stories on the site today: blaming guns and other inanimate objects, 80 million zombies, wrecking the Arab world, promoting crime in schools, get your money out now, Ron Paul's offenses against the state religion, the ghost of Joe McCarthy, Paul Ryan's principles, saying no to government loyalty oath, the crown of self-control, who killed the Limburg baby. They wreak havoc on your health. That's a few good articles. I ought to ask him what those are all about, even though I've read a couple of them today and linked to them at Infowars.com. He joins us now looking at this. Lou, what do you make of checkpoints everywhere, TSA on the highways everywhere, warrantless checkpoints, TSA grabbing people's laptops and downloading the contents, police doing it, the general unfolding police state, drones all over the place. I videotaped one last week in Austin, flying around, surveilling things, and 1.4 billion, I keep saying million, 1.4 billion rounds of ammunition purchased in the last year. I looked it up. That's about 10 times what DHS purchased in previous years. What are they getting ready for, Lou Rockwell?
Well, Alex, of course, what is that? More than 4 bullets per person in this country. They're worried. They're worried about insurrection, because as the government keeps getting more and more control in as you talk about everything from the fisheries to the highways to schools, homes, businesses, churches, charities. They're taking more and more control, and of course, as the government gets bigger, it gets worse. It gets morally worse, and the people who rise to the top of the government become even worse. They become even more monstrous, and so they want more and more control. This is what they live for. They love doing this to people. They love crushing people. They love killing people. That's why they love wars so much. Besides all the money they make, so but they also get more paranoid. They're constantly afraid that, they're sort of like fleas on a dog, and they're always afraid that maybe the dog's going to scratch them off. So they arm themselves, and they have, all these armored SWAT teams. Every government agency has got armored SWAT teams, as you so correctly point out. So the government is our enemy. I mean, I think that's what we have to realize. These people are not getting all these bullets to, quote unquote, defend us or protect us, or the rest of the myths that they put out in Washington. It's to hurt us if we don't obey. So that's what they're afraid of, and they're continuing to turn the screws. So this is, of course, what we all fight about. This is what you fight against every day, me too, and so many other Americans are not willing to put up with this stuff that bothers the people in government, and they turn to violence. Whenever we think of the one, they use the word tool. They always talk about their toolkit. They want another tool. The tool is the gun. So that's their one and only tool. Whether you refuse to pay or maybe forget to pay your library fine, and then you sufficiently resist paying the library fine, they claim the right to kill you over not paying your library fine. And of course, everything else that they look at, any document the government has you sign, it's menacing, it's predatory, they threaten to put you in jail over anything. This is a very nasty institution.
They behave like the mafia because they are the biggest mafia. Well,
don't criticize. At least the mafia gives us products that people want to buy voluntarily. I think the government's far worse than the mafia, far more nasty, far more vicious, murdered infinitely more people than the mafia ever did.
I guess you're right. No, you're right. Government killed, according to the University of Hawaii study, 262 million people in the 20th century, not counting military deaths or deaths by military. I mean, that's more than anything. I mean, government's more deadly than cancer.
Well, people, I always think Dick Cheney showed this, but they're all like this. They like killing people. They like sending in the Predator drones. Obama must enjoy that. Maybe he does it over his cereal in the morning, signs the death order, gets a kick out of it. The people who rise to the top in government like killing other people. That's it's a tough thing for the normal person who, of course, would never in a million years want to kill anybody else. But the people who rise to the top of government are killers, they're looters, they're very bad people.
Of course, that's what our founding fathers said, and we tried to follow their system, and it wasn't perfect, but it created more wealth than any other nation ever had. 4% of the world's population, we had more than half the wealth. Now as the liberty goes out the door, like oxygen, our prosperity's going out. I want to pull back and look at the big picture, and then I want to get into Paul Ryan, Ron Paul, a whole bunch of articles, drones with Lou Rockwell, the icon from LouRockwell.com. But first, I want to go to the fact, we have an article out at Infowars.com today, Rome burned, will we? And by the way, LouRockwell.com is always welcome to carry any of our stuff if you want, we'd be honored. But I want to get your take on this, because I know you've written and talked about this, the parallels to the United States Empire and Rome. Give us your own historical and economically studied perspective on Rome burned, will we?
Well, of course, this is something that you mentioned the founding fathers, they were very, very aware of. They, in many ways, sought to emulate the heroes of